Welcome to the Pre-Patch Podcast.
Senua Saga Hellblade 2 did launch this week. I've watched gameplay
You
of
wouldn't
that
know
game.
about it
No,
You wouldn't know about it because Microsoft
because they were
didn't do
piss poor
anything.
at fucking pushing out any
was gonna say,
information about it.
which is
And
kind
I
of
didn't
wild
see,
because
like you said, I didn't see any marketing myself.
well,
The only
prior
marketing
to
I
any.
saw on this game was at like the con
game shows,
showcases.
yeah, that's what I said. The
That
game,
was
And
it,
it was
yeah.
it was a huge part of those showcases, but they didn't do anything else.
like
No,
it's
they-
very eerie. Let me just say that, right? Like there is no factual anything about whether or not what may happen to Ninja Theory or not, but it is still very, very eerie. Like when you think about major game, a huge amount of budget that went into this game, and no marketing. Like it feels very hi-fi rushy. It feels very like, do we need to worry about Ninja Theory possibly getting
It makes you concerned about how
I
much
mean-
Microsoft cares about the product being pushed and
Yeah.
cares about the
Right.
studio. Because
Well, that's it, because honestly, the marketing is on Microsoft's end there.
yeah,
like, to
100%.
To not even market their own game that they're publishing at all.
which is crazy because
And-
I've watched the
and-
game. The game looks and runs really well. Like
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard
it's
it
well
holds
made,
up to
it's-
the first.
Yeah, it's well made. It's visually probably the best looking game made to date.
Yeah,
There's
the mocap again is incredible.
The
Which is-
mocap's
which
good.
is- Which is wild because I've seen people on Twitter that are like, "This is ass. Like this took 5 years to fucking develop, and this is all Xbox has to offer."
I think the
Like, what the
lacking
fuck?
part is, if I understood it correctly, is the length of the game. Is that where it's lacking?
The length
it's
of the
very
game
short.
and-
Yeah,
and some of
Um,
the combat stuff. They turned the combat more cinematic. In Hellblade 1, you would actively fight against multiple enemies at the same time during the combat segments and stuff like that. In this one, each fight is like a one-on-one
A
kind of like
1v1.
mini cinematic style fight. You're still controlling pretty similar to how you did in the first game, but it's a 1v1 type situation. So
yeah.
they wanted more of the visceralness of it rather than
I think
like,
that's
the
fine for a
micromanaging.
game like this, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, they knew what they wanted. We knew it was going to be a cinematic based experience.
That's what I was gonna say because they
similar to like
when they
order what 1866 is that?
yeah
what?
when they did do actual advertisements for it, that was always in the advertisements, like
That's what we
cinematic,
saw.
this
Yeah.
is real in-game footage, and I was always like, no fucking way, dude. They like this right here, what we're watching right now,
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
there was no I was like, there's no fucking way that's in-game footage.
But that's actually what it is.
That's
Yeah,
his
that's-
actual
that's
combat,
in-game
yeah.
footage.
So that's legit, man. They showed you what you were gonna get. And
yeah,
they
but
gave it to
it's
you.
but again, there's a preface there that is a kind of, this is like, imagine like a QTE, right? It's not straight QTE, but it is a. Do you guys remember when the Xbox 360 or Xbox One was originally launching, and there was that Rome game that came out? You guys remember what I'm talking about? It's like it's not. I
Imperator
want to say it's
Rome?
like. No, it's like Gladiator or so, I forgot. I cannot remember. Maybe someone can. It was a launch title
Not a-
for
yeah, I'm not
Xbox
sure.
One.
Xbox boys.
I don't know. If someone in chat can look it up. or what-
Rise, Fall of Rome.
Yes, thank you. Rise, Fall of Rome.
Oh, okay.
RYSE, if I'm not mistaken, is how it was spelled.
That the only reason I know that game exists is because anytime somebody wants to shit on a game's graphics, they're like, "This is what a game looks like in 2024. This is what a game looked like back then. What happened?"
well, I'm gonna use it as an example, but that game and this game, as far as combat, I'm not even using it as like quality wise, like graphic wise, but like combat wise, it reminds me very much of a very similar kind of thing. It's this flashy,
Honestly,
beautiful.
it's pretty one for one.
Yeah, like it's this beautiful thing or whatever else, and then whatever. Like I'm not knocking the like. I've watched people play this game. This is not my type of game. I've watched people play this game. And I mean, it is a beautiful fucking game. Like it is.
Well, the first one was as well.
The
Honestly,
first one was
I-
amazing. The first one was
I-
one of my favorite games the year that it came out.
I really
And
gotta
from
play
what
the
I've seen
first
with
one.
this one, they stuck with the psychosis elements perfectly. It's still one of those mindfuck kind of games where
Yeah, those
you are
mental
really
games.
yeah, you're really easily able to get invested and really inject yourself into what they're gonna do. Like,
I I have a question for you because like and this is kind of off on a separate tangent. It's still about Senua, but do you think like this was Xbox's like try to like their attempt to
to a
make
Sony
like
game.
yeah to make like their best attempt at a Sony game because like
I
that's
don't.
what we know Sony does the best, right?
for
Is
the
like
for their cinematic games.
yes, cinematic architectural, like very
No, I
stunning like
mean,
graphically, right? And we don't have a lot of that with
was Ninja Theory
Xbox.
always Microsoft owned,
No,
or
they
No,
got
because
bought in
no.
they got picked up,
2018.
right?
They got
They
picked up
they
after
were they were
Senua,
yeah,
Yeah,
they
I was
were
gonna say, I think this is just Ninja Theory going their own way, and I don't
I mean,
think
they-
Microsoft
but
was pushing them in
you
any
you
sort,
got you got
sort
to
of
you got to
way.
take that into consideration. I'm not stating that Microsoft was pushing them. That a possibility of like them purchasing this. They were like, hey, we can actually get something that
I
could
mean,
contend.
I feel like if
Maybe, yeah. I don't
I think
know.
they should have put some marketing fucking dollars behind
I think
it.
they
Like,
should
Oh,
too.
for sure.
I think that if they wanted
They're
to
definitely doing a
contend,
disservice to their own studio. Not marketing
if they
this.
wanted to contend as well, like pushing Ninja Theory to make a game longer than 5 hours would have been the better option, personally. But I think that's
So
my biggest problem that I have with
what
it
I
is just like
what I will say, so first of all, like I said, I haven't played the first one. I'm more inclined to play this one over the first one, just seeing it at the moment. I feel like it's almost I'm a like
you
a
need to
cinema
play
buff.
both of them.
Yeah, you have to play
I
the
feel
first one,
like
I think.
100%. I won't play this without playing the first, but I'm seeing this makes me want to play through it to get to this.
yeah.
Is what I mean, and because I'm more of a cinema buff. I like this style. It just it's
A21
alluring.
motherfucker.
You know, hey man, I'm leaning full into it. But to go off of that, being more of a very cinematic driven game, it's almost like a movie in a sense. So I think that 5 hour length, I don't think this style of game would have made a great long hour
I
lasting
disagree
game.
because God
I
of War is the
disagree as
exact
well.
same way,
Yeah.
and
But
it's
God
a
of War is
20-hour
a
game.
lot more in depth, like with combat and with like their
It also has 3
world
open
and
world
everything.
segments.
But
This
that's
game's
that's
more
what we're
up close and personal. I'm saying, like,
that's what I'm gonna or that's what I'm kind of getting at though, is like if they would have pushed more for like making this something that
more
could
God of War,
contend
more
with God,
more open
not
world.
more
No,
God
I'm
of
not
War, but
saying
just
yeah.
contend with it. Could that be what they were looking for, and they just
It
didn't
Do
hit
you
the
think
mark.
like what Microsoft was looking for out of the Ninja Theory?
Yeah,
It
like
could
what they were
be.
looking for out of the
Maybe.
Ninja Theory purchase.
I think that Microsoft is interested in trying to reach that niche of gamer because they're most likely going to be opening a studio that's going to be specifically for that style
Yeah,
of game. As far as this goes, I think this is just Ninja Theory
Dude,
doing
that is
Ninja Theory
creepy.
things.
That is creepy.
Why
Yeah,
is
I
that
think
is
this is just full
And,
Ninja
and
Theory.
now
Like,
and now we've got Horizon on there.
yeah,
Ninja
Ye-
Theory.
this
They
is Digital Foundry's
do
video,
very-
by the way. I just want to make sure
Yeah.
it's known.
They do very niche
yeah.
types of games. I think this is just one of them. I don't.
So
I
you don't
honestly
think a game in
that
this style would make a longer game? Would that be better for it, or no?
I don't know. Just because I don't want to force a studio to extend whatever their vision of
For
the
sure,
game
yeah.
is,
Right.
just to pad out a runtime, because
I think
that could make the game worse if done
It could,
incorrectly.
yeah,
Now,
that's what I'm
that
saying.
being said, realistic expectations with the pricing model, given the
That's my
content that
biggest
you're putting
problem.
out
So
there.
what did they go up to? You said they what
50.
they
It's 50. Yeah,
from what? What was
30.
30.
So that is a substantial jump.
That's a decent.
And
marketing.
wasn't Hellblade 1? How long was Hellblade 1? Was it only 5
It
hours
was,
as well?
it
Or
was
was
5 to 7 hours, just like this
yeah,
one
5 to
is.
7. That's what,
Same range.
And
Yeah.
it still is so weird to me that Hellblade 1, and this is completely unrelated to most of the stuff, was a PlayStation, like a 6-month PlayStation exclusive at launch, and then Hellblade 2 is an Xbox exclusive, never coming to PlayStation.
Oh, it'll
Well,
come to PlayStation. It'll come to PlayStation.
It'll come to PlayStation. I'm willing to bet.
It's
Yeah,
gonna come.
but we'll
It's
see.
gonna come to PlayStation.
I think it might too with all these PlayStation releases
they-
they got going on.
the new-
if
the new
Xbox wasn't pushing for everything going over to
Now we have the
PlayStation,
order. The fuck?
yeah, 100%. I don't think
So,
it would, but now that they are,
I think
it
it's
That's still speculation, though, as far as that goes. We've gotten a few games
yeah,
going over, but
that is true.
do
It
you
is
I would like to
speculation,
see
but
it.
it also falls in line with what
Hey,
they've
the
been
order.
wanting to do the entire time.
I'm just trying to get through.
do you think the price hike is of course it's greed, right? You know, I mean it's pretty greedy to make it that substantial, but do you think it's just solely because of how much work they put into all
I
the
think
the
it's-
cinematic
budget's ridiculously
presence
high.
of the game?
I think it's
was
more. I think it's
well
more the
more
fact
than
that
I'm sure the first.
I think it's more the fact that the facial capturing software and the facial capture mocap
That's-
and everything just costs a lot. But I do think that, yeah,
Do you think it's almost do you think it's warranted for them to raise it that much, or do you think they overstepped?
I don't
me
know, man.
personally, they can. I'm of a interest, like a different group of gamer where I feel like
Different
devs,
breed.
yeah, not yeah.
No, I'm joking.
I feel like
Different.
devs built different. Yeah, I think devs can charge whatever they want for it.
Well,
But
and
they
end of the
need
day,
to,
yeah, they're gonna.
and they will also need to be happy with whatever reception that gets them pricing model wise. I
Yeah.
think the $50 price point is fine with this, considering that it is also a Game Pass Day One title. Majority of the people are going to play it on Game Pass Day One. If they don't have Game Pass already, that is the easier option, especially given the length of the game. You could pick this up for a
Yeah.
fraction of what the total cost is.
It's a
And
game
then if
almost
you like
made
the
for
game
Game
later,
Pass.
yeah, you can buy it. I hate that it's that kind of way, but it
Right.
makes sense given what Microsoft is wanting to do, shuffling everybody to the subscription model. So if Microsoft wants to make the price of the games
Yeah.
unrealistic and then have the cheaper option being Game Pass, they're going to do that every time.
I've always been of the opinion that, like, I feel like if you're gonna charge $50, it should have at least a decent, like we've played games in the past that have charged $50 that were
Sure.
like 12 hours long and bitched about it, right? So like
Right.
us sitting here being like, oh, $50 is fine for 5
I
hours.
usually,
is a little
go
weird,
by the
but-
dollar an hour, but it's a little harder when it comes to story-driven single-player games because you're never gonna get
Yeah.
true dollar an hour value. You'll more get
Unless you
value
replay,
in
which these games are definitely worth replaying. In my
yeah,
opinion.
but if you're
like
not the
rewatching
type
a
to
movie.
replay, you're gonna more
Yeah.
get the value out of the quality at that point.
Yeah.
And
And like what we're seeing, and like what we're seeing in chat with it being the length of 2 to 3 movies, it kind of helps. Like if you're going to see 2 or 3 movies in a month, the price
Yeah.
point equals out in that regard.
And
but
that's also where I was comparing. Like I'm thinking that like you make this game 5 to 6 hours for this style, being like like 2 to 3 movies length. I think that's perfect. I think anything more, you're gonna get tired of it almost. Like you're gonna get worn out of playing that style of game. It's not meant for a long driven game,
mean,
in my
yeah.
opinion. That's personally
yeah,
what I
don't
think.
know.
I don't know, but
because you still have that with like God of War and the other cinematic.
I still think God of
novels
War's a bit
from-
different, man.
from
I
Sony.
do. You get it's story driven, but it's played differently, much different. More combat driven, more
You're not
world exploring.
I think the difference that you're trying to make is that in God of War, you're playing the game, and in this, you're experiencing the game. Like you're
That's a good way to put it.
you're in this like you're in this driver's seat essentially, but you're in the driver's seat on an automatic, on like a car that's automatically driving itself, and you're just
Yeah.
kind of experiencing what's happening around you. Versus whereas in God of War, like you are making the choices. Yes, the story is still going to happen,
Yeah.
but you're way more engaged.
Thank you.
Question for
I
you
think that's
guys.
exactly kind of how I wanted to put it. Yeah.
And the last thing I kind of want to bring up about this is make a comparison of this game in particular, $50 price point, all that stuff, and kind of compare it side by side with the Uncharted games. Because I feel like the Uncharted games are kind of in this ballpark as far as the style of the game, not necessarily like the combat and stuff, but like a cinematic, story-driven, linear game. And the lengths are also the same. Most of the Uncharted games are 7 to 10 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the
Those
main
games were-
story is 7 to 10 hours, right? You still have side quests and everything like that with the Uncharted stuff, right?
To a point, it's a bit linear though. I don't think you have too many that I remember. I don't think there was too much side stuff.
No, I'm not sure. I haven't ever played it.
Uncharted was pretty linear.
Genuinely a
Yeah,
question.
Uncharted's pretty linear. The only thing side questy wise that you're doing is like finding collectibles.
You know
but
what I would
that's-
I would
yeah.
almost put this more closely related to is
The reason I bring that up is because those were all premium $60 games, and nobody complained about the length of those games.
so
And then this is suddenly an issue.
I would say that,
Yeah.
but I still think that in those games, though, again, that I would relate Uncharted more toward the God of War style. Lengthwise, yes, but like to me, this I go down the dark anthology route of like, you know, if you look at like House of Ashes, you know, The Devil in
Ori.
Me, right?
Yeah.
All of those are very like more of this style cinematic experiences that you're just there, you're making choices, but you're really just there to kind of experience what's in it. I don't know how long
Yeah.
those were. I'm imagining probably around that same length. And I don't know.
I think they're a bit longer,
Yeah, it depends.
but not by much. If they were, some of them were.
I'm trying to look up. I've got it pulled up, but I don't have the
Quarry
pricing on
is
it.
9 hours.
I know Until Dawn was a pretty decent sized game. That was like 8 or 9 hours too, I think.
Until Dawn was 8 hours.
So
they're in the
okay, I mean
ballpark.
we're close there, right?
Yeah,
Like we're
but
not
that's the
too
same-
far off. But-
Those are choice games. It takes a bit longer to make choices and whatnot. That's the same concept, though. I mean, being that cinematic style.
Do I think the $50 price tag is right? Like to answer the question that is being asked here is I
It's
think
only 7 hours.
I think the $50 price tag is a little much. Like I'm gonna be completely honest. Like I think it's too much.
Especially coming from the $30 from the original.
Yeah, I
like,
think
it
you
just
could have done
seems-
40, and I think people would have
I
been
think
a lot
40 would
more
have
been
the
okay.
sweet point.
But I mean, here's what I do want to I want to highlight because we talked a lot about this, and I do want to wrap this up because we got a shit ton of stuff to get through in 15 fucking minutes. But is I want to give Ninja Theory credit where credit is due. This game, from I mean, I've been on this earth for 37 years. I have watched multiple fucking games, trailers, whatever. This is by far, bar none, one of the most beautiful experiences, games, whatever you want to call it, that I've ever fucking seen. Like what they did to create this game, to make it work, to hit like you're not talking about like there's not people out there that are just being like it doesn't fucking hit minimums, it doesn't like fucking frame drop, like there, you know, it I mean, again, obviously if you're playing on PC, you know, that's a whole other different world, but like because of different parts, but on Xbox, I mean, this is a fucking feat, man. Like it is.
It's impressive.
It is fucking, and it makes me hopeful for like, dude, what can we get in the future, right? Like, what are video games going to be like in the future? Now, what does scare me on the counterpart is that fucking price tag. If an 8-hour experience is $50, does that mean that Ubisoft's fucking $130 price tag is what we're going to be paying for a full 20-hour? You know what I mean? Like that's scary
Quality
as hell.
over quantity in a lot of cases.
You know,
but at least, like I said, the $50 price tag with this is probably a bit steep, but there's the Game Pass option on top of it. So
yeah.
Which is why I think that the Steam concurrent players and that kind of stuff is low, is because most people are playing it Game Pass.
I think that's.
I would hope so. I want to believe that that's the case.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want them to be shafted in any way, shape, or form.
I looked at it today, and I was looking at what's it called, Redfall's player numbers when it first released. Redfall had more concurrent players than this game has when it first released, which is crazy.
That was also a co-op shooter, though.
It was, but I'm just stating the worst fucking failure from them or from Xbox in a while had more concurrent. That worries me a little bit.
Let's look at Hi-Fi Rush. That's what I want to see. Is what was the player base of Hi-Fi Rush to this? There's your.
But that was also at Xbox Game Pass.
That's what I'm saying. So you take Hellblade 2 to Hi-Fi Rush. Now I will say Ninja Theory they're not in the process of getting their next game greenlit. They have gotten that greenlit. Does that mean they're going to stay around?
Hi-Fi Rush had 6,132, so they
Okay.
were also above this one's.
This
peak
one's what, sitting at
concurrent.
like 1,400 and
This
nearly
one's sitting at
1,400.
3,000, I think. The last time I checked it, like 3,000
Yeah,
and change.
it hasn't broke its day one cap.
3,000.
And
Okay.
that's not
That's
that is
just
not
Steam.
that's just Steam.
Yeah.
Again, though, Hi-Fi Rush was a $30 game. This is a
True.
$50
It
game.
was. Yep.
Yep.
And
So-
and this game is extremely niche. That was one thing that I wanted to stress is like it is very niche. It's very weird. It's very strange. It's a cinematic experience. Not a lot of gamers
And you
are
need to have
okay
played
with
the
that.
first one
So
to understand this one.
here, I will go on record right now and say that if Microsoft goes out there and puts the axe to Ninja Theory after this game launching like this or whatever else, I as much as Enigma has vitriol for Epic, like all this shit in my background, this Diablo stuff, I will boycott the shit out of Microsoft. Like I will fucking boycott the hell out of them.
But he'll still play Diablo.
I will not. Like I just won't. I can't. That is like I'm not. I don't know. Man.
Ninja
Well, what
Theory
if
is
they
near
come
and
out
dear
with
to
like
my
a really
heart.
nice Barb skin?
Yeah, what if they come out
No,
with
it's
another
just-
$70
I'm just
skin, bro?
saying, man. Like it's you. Like at a certain point, us as gamers have to take a stand against.
No, I
you know,
agree.
things of this
I
kind
agree
of stuff.
too.
Like
I mean,
you know.
we did with
Not with Epic.
Hellblade.
Epic's fine.
Sin actually understands my
We
issue
all
with
know
Epic.
Tim Sweeney's
What?
a dick, but at least Tim Sweeney's not shutting down fucking studios left and fucking right. So
I mean,
Yeah.
they have shut down studios. That's not true. They have shut. I mean, not left and right, but they have shut down studios.
They've also shafted a lot of people on the free stuff. But
Yeah.
anyways,
anyway, all right.
Thank you for checking out the patch notes. If you enjoyed this small selection from our podcast, come join us every Thursday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern for the full unfiltered pre-patch podcast. And check out our past shows on anchor.fm/prepatch podcast.